The night. It is not a time for rest within these walls. Not for some. Here, in the heart of the empire, where the air itself seems weighted with secrets, the silence is a living thing. It presses down, heavy and thick, until the very thrum of your own blood, the soft flutter against your ribs, becomes a thunderous roar. Can you hear it? That frantic pulse, echoing through the marble halls, past tapestries woven with forgotten conquests, past pillars that have witnessed centuries of ambition? Behind the finest silk, a barrier so delicate yet so impenetrable, a breath is held. The air itself shimmers, disturbed by nothing but the slow, deliberate glide of shadows across polished floors. No grand pronouncements here, no clash of steel. This dynasty is forged not in fire, but in the cool, calculating stillness of the dark. And then, through the gossamer thinness of the fabric, through threads spun by hands long turned to dust, a single word escapes. A word whispered so low, so precise, it carries the weight of a death sentence, the promise of betrayal. It seeps into the air like poison, chilling the very marrow. Readiness. Do you see it? Not the face, never the face, but the subtle tremor of a hand as it reaches for a cup of sherbet. A hand, perhaps young, perhaps old, but certainly one that grips the destiny of an empire. The sherbet, cool and sweet, a momentary respite before the storm that word portends. This, my dear ones, is the true theater of power. Not on battlefields, not in roaring assemblies, but in the suffocating quiet of a private chamber. Here, authority does not shout. It whispers. It coils like a viper, unseen, unheard, until the strike.
Every hesitant breath taken in this palace could seal a fate. Every moment of silence could birth a new era, or bury an old one beneath its ruins. This is where the game begins. A game of queens who wear no glittering crowns, but instead drape themselves in the deepest of shadows. Prepare yourselves, for what I tell is not for common ears. This is the truth of the bloodline, etched in the dark. How, you ask, does a dynasty truly fall? Not with the clash of steel, nor the thunder of 1,000 hooves. Such spectacles are for the common folk, for the history books written by victors. No, the true unraveling, the silent strangulation of a bloodline, leaves no trace on the pristine silk of imperial robes. It is an art, honed over centuries, whispered from empress to queen, from mother to daughter, in chambers where the light barely dares to trespass. Picture this, a fleeting glance exchanged across a crowded hall, a subtle shift in a lady's posture, a hand lifted just so, or perhaps the delivery of a simple bouquet, lilies perhaps to one concubine, nightshade discreetly woven into roses for another whose presence has become an inconvenience. The message, unspoken, understood. The poison, unseen, consumed. This is the currency of true power, precious and deadly, needing no throne to assert its will. Where does this insidious force reside, you wonder? Not always within the gilded cages of the Sultan's ear. Often, it dwells in the hushed sanctity of the royal library, amidst parchment scrolls that hold not just history, but the forgotten weaknesses of past emperors, the subtle betrayals that brought great houses to their knees. A scholar, loyal to a hidden hand, can retrieve a text, illuminate a passage, and ignite a scandal that burns down reputations faster than any fire. And the kitchens, dear ladies, oh, the kitchens. The heart of any household, but in a palace, a veritable arsenal. A cook whose loyalty has been carefully cultivated, whose family's future rests on the delicate balance of a spoon, can alter the fate of an empire with a single pinch of spice. A slowing fever, a persistent lethargy, a child too weak to thrive, all masquerading as natural ailments, all orchestrated with a precision that defies detection. A silent, slow erosion of vitality, a dynasty fading like an old tapestry. But perhaps the most potent theater of all is the harem, a universe unto itself, teeming with ambition, fear, and a desperate yearning for survival. Here,
Every whisper carries the weight of a decree. Every rumor, carefully planted, blossoms into a devastating truth. A seemingly innocent conversation between two slave girls, overheard by a eunuch whose ears are tuned to specific frequencies, can unravel a vizier's plot, expose a secret alliance, or condemn an innocent favorite. The power of a spoken word, imbued with malicious intent, can twist the very fabric of the court. The air here, though scented with jasmine and rose, is thick with unspoken threats, a constant, silent battle for influence. This is no mere game, no frivolous pastime for bored women. This is a school of survival, where the only textbook is the human soul, its desires, its fears, its breaking points. And the only exam, my dears, is life or death. A bloody ballet, danced not on a stage, but within the confines of these velvet walls, in the suffocating silence of untold ambition. And as the music plays, unheard, the players move with a grace that hides their true lethal intent. Remember, the sharpest blade leaves a wound, the cleverest poison a trace. But an altered perception, a planted doubt, a heart turned against its own kin, these wounds fester unseen, and by the time the dynasty understands it has been struck, it is already too late. The threads are already woven, taut and invisible, around its very throat. The air in the chamber, usually thick with spice and distant life, hung heavy that day. A stillness, almost unnatural, had descended, pressing on the very stones of the palace. Have you ever felt the weight of an unspoken command, the chill premonition of fate unfolding in absolute silence? I stood, as I always did, cloaked by the deep shadows of the pillar, an unseen witness to the intricate dance of power. Few dances, dear listener, are as deadly as those performed in these gilded cages. The threads, spun thin as a spider's silk across the vast loom of the empire, now drew taut, converging upon a single point. In the heart of the room, behind the exquisitely carved screen, she waited. Hidden from direct view, her presence resonated, a palpable force. Her posture, effortless grace, a study in controlled power. Her gaze, calm as a mountain lake in winter, held the cold, unyielding wisdom of centuries. A gaze that had witnessed the fall of empires, the quiet extinguishment of too many bright flames. Upon the low, inlaid table, two objects lay in stark relief. A letter, its seal unbroken, a promise or a threat held captive by brittle wax. Beside it, the silver chalice, gleaming with the promise of sweet sherbet, an innocent vessel for a less innocent purpose. The air, so still, you could almost hear dust motes dance. No word escaped her lips, no command, no overt gesture. Only the slightest tremor of a finger, a whisper of movement barely seen, rippled her silk. A hand, adorned with rings that whispered tales of forgotten queens, reached out. Slowly, deliberately, her thumb pressed the waxen seal. The silence deepened, became an entity, absorbing all sound, all breath. The wax, brittle as forgotten promises, surrendered with a faint, imperceptible crack. The sound swallowed instantly by the quiet. The parchment unrolled, a silent testament to destiny rewritten. Her eyes, pools of ancient ice, scanned the words, absorbing their import without a flicker. The information, whatever its nature, cemented a decision long made. In that breathless stillness, the chalice rose. Not by her hand, her own were occupied with the delicate paper. Lifted by hands unseen, unbidden by spoken command, it emerged from the shadows behind the screen, a silent phantom serving a silent master. It hovered, poised, moving with dreamlike slowness towards the light. No eye in that chamber, save perhaps mine, hidden behind this pillar, witnessed the bead of darkness coalesce and drop into the shimmering sweetness. A single, perfect drop, no larger than a tear, yet potent enough to unravel a life. A tiny flicker of liquid poison, dissolving into the fragrant rosewater, leaving no trace. No ear, save perhaps mine, caught the breath of a command, a whisper lost before it formed, a silent pact between two shadows. The chalice, its fatal secret held, was placed back upon the table. The letter, its message absorbed, folded with the same calm precision, its destiny fulfilled. A new silence settled, different from the first, a silence of completion, of resolution. Yet history, dear listener, remembers only the consequence. The air, vibrant with youth, brimming with ambition for a future he believed was his, suddenly gone. A swift, silent departure, leaving only a void where a future once bloomed. A path cleared, a road opened for another, whose time, perhaps, had always been predestined, carved by the cold will of a dynasty. Understand this, for it is the core truth of these walls. It is not a game of good and evil. Such notions are luxuries for those who do not bear the weight of a bloodline. It is the raw, visceral struggle for the survival of the bloodline, the brutal preservation of dynasty, the very continuity of the empire. This was betrayal, yes, chilling, but one cloaked in the finest silk, fragrant with rosewater, sealed by the cold, unwavering logic of a queen who knew that sometimes, to save the tree, one must prune even the healthiest branch. The silence, you see, was her loudest declaration. The first pale light, a hesitant guest, crept through the latticed windows, daring to touch the marbled floors of the Sultan's private chambers. It chased the lingering specters of the night, those silent witnesses to ambition and despair. The air, heavy with the scent of jasmine and something else, something sharper, now seemed to breathe anew, cleansed. Where shadows had clutched at a woman's form just hours before, now stood a figure bathed in the nascent glow. Not a shadow anymore. She was flesh and blood, radiant in her exhaustion, cradling a miracle, a new life, a boy, the future. His tiny hands, so innocent, yet held the weight of 1,000 generations. The bloodline secured, at least for this fleeting moment. The old intrigues, like embers doused by a sudden rain, had vanished. The whispers of yesterday's favorites, the hushed schemes of rival mothers, all reduced to ash. For now, new flames had yet to spark, new rivalries yet to bloom. This was the deceptive calm before the storm, a moment of fragile peace bought at an unseen cost. And who would dare to speak of it? Who would voice the question that hung, unspoken, in the perfumed air? Why had the previous heir, so vibrant and full of promise, slipped from this world with such quiet haste? Why had the Sultan's grief been so swift, so contained? No answers would be sought, none would be given. The palace had already swallowed its secrets whole, leaving behind only the faintest echo. Perhaps, if one leaned close enough to the abandoned silver chalice, a subtle trace of almond might still cling, a ghost of sweetness turned deadly. This is the very essence of silent power. It asserts itself not with trumpets and declarations, but with the soft rustle of silk, the gentle coo of an infant, and the chilling silence that follows an unexpected departure. You see, for all the clanging of swords and the roar of battle, the greatest shifts in a dynasty rarely make a sound. The most brutal sentences are often passed without a single spoken word, sealed by a glance, a gesture, a knowing absence. It is an art, this mastery of the unseen. To remain in the shadow, even as your hands, delicate and unmarred, subtly direct the flow of an entire empire's bloodline. To orchestrate a rise, a fall, a rebirth, all from the quietest corner of the Sultan's gaze. The stage is set anew, dear ladies. The players may change, but the game of queens and shadows, it endures. It always endures. You have seen it now, haven't you? The whispers that build an empire, not the screams. To rule, one need not ever leave these gilded chambers, nor stand upon the highest balcony exposed to the world's gaze. No, The true architect of a dynasty understands the profound weight of a single, well-placed word, the silent language of a fleeting glance, the crushing power embedded within a moment of absolute silence. Power, real power, does not announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. It does not demand attention. It simply is. It weaves itself unseen into the very air you breathe, into the stone of these walls, into the hearts of men. It is a subtle poison, seeping through the court like a forgotten scent of jasmine, inescapable. This is the perilous arena of queens, you see, a ruthless game with no rules save one: survival through invisibility. The one who truly masters the art of being unseen, of moving like a shadow amongst shadows, is the one who holds the threads of destiny. And remember this, for it is the most crucial lesson. When the palace seems still, when a hush falls upon the courtyards, when you believe peace has finally descended, that is precisely when history is being forged. In the deepest hours, behind a velvet curtain, perhaps just beyond this very pillar where I stand, a new queen already begins her intricate dance. You will not see her, not yet. You may not even hear her name whispered, but you will feel her. Her will, her ambition, her very essence will thicken the air, shaping the future of this bloodline. Such is the relentless demand of a dynasty. Such is the enduring, terrifying strength of silence.